சீராரும் மதனமென திகழ்வரத கண்டனில் அதில் சிறந்த காவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு திரை முதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழவை திறந்து எந்த செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमया, लीड अस फ्रॉम डार्कनेस टू लाइट। इस महत्वपूर्ण समारोह में दीप प्रज्वलित करके उद्घाटन करने के लिए हम माननीय केंद्रीय मत्स्य पालन मंत्री श्री पुरुषोत्तम जी रूपाला जी को आदरपूर्वक आमंत्रित करें। To do the honors of lighting the auspicious lamp and inaugurating the function, may I now respectfully invite our Honorable Union Minister of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Sri Purushottam Rupala ji, and all the dignitaries on the dais. I now cordially invite Dr. L. Narasimhamurthy, the Chief Executive of National Fisheries Development Board, NFDB, to deliver the address. Welcome address. Sir, the stage is all yours.
Vanakkam, sabhi ko mera namaskar. Good morning to all. I request Dr. P. Krishnan, Director BOBP, IGO, to welcome dignitaries and dais by offering flower bouquets. Dr. Krishna. First, so let us welcome Honorable Union Minister for Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy, Sri Purushottam Rupala sir. Welcome you, sir. Dr. Abhilaksh Likki, Secretary, Department of Fisheries, Government of India. Welcome you, sir. Mrs. Neetu Prasad, Joint Secretary, Department of Fisheries, Government of India. Welcome, ma'am. Dr. J.K. Janna, Deputy Director General, Fisheries, ICR. Welcome, you, sir. Dr. Takayuki Hagiwara, FAO representative in India. Welcome, you, sir. Dr. Piero Manini, Senior Fisheries Officer, FAO. Welcome, you, sir. Dr. Darius Campbell, Chair of the Regional Fisheries Body Secretariat Network. Thank you, Dr. Krishnan. Senior officers and scientists who who have come from Bangladesh, Maldives, and Sri Lanka, of our neighboring countries. Welcome you all, and distinguished guests from around the world, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and a warm welcome to the International Conclave on Mainstreaming Climate Change into International Fisheries Governance and the Strengthening of Fisheries Management Measures in the Indo-Pacific region, hosted here in the beautiful city of Mahabalipuram. I am truly honored to stand before you today as we embark on this crucial journey to address the pressing challenges facing our marine ecosystems and fisheries management. Before we delve into the program, let me briefly describe the event and its side events. International Conclave has three major components. First one, FAO meeting on mainstreaming climate change into international fisheries, governance and strengthening the fisheries management measures in the Indo-Pacific regional. Brainstorming session on India's preparedness for adapting to climate change in marine fisheries. Special scoping workshop on mainstreaming life for fisheries management. I would like to welcome to the Honorable Minister of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy, Government of India, Shri Purushottam Rupala sir, for graciously consenting to participate in this workshop. Your presence signifies a significant milestone in our shared mission to safeguard the marine resources and livelihoods. I warm welcome to Dr. Abhilash Lekhi, Secretary, Department of Fisheries, Government of India. Your expertise and support have been instrumental in making this workshop a success. I also wish to thank the Joint Secretary, Ms. Neetu Prasad, for constant support and encouragement. I thank the FAO for having chosen to organize this important workshop in India. Dr. Takayuki Hagiwar, FAO representative to India, Dr. Piero Manini, Senior Fisheries Officers, FAO, and the team for traveling all the way from Rome to attend this conclave. The geographical coverage of the scope of this workshop in the Indo-Pacific region, and I welcome all the heads of the regional fisheries bodies and all the participants. I take this opportunity to welcome Dr. J.K. Janna, Deputy Director General ICR, and all the scientists and researchers and academicians. I welcome all ICR Fisheries Institute directors and who are attending this conclave and conference. Welcome to the press and media who have made to the event in good manner. In conclusion, I would like to once again welcome each and every one of you for the event. We wish you a great celebration. Thank you.
Next, we have a couple of short video presentations on Government of India initiatives towards building resilience to marine fisheries. The first video is on PMMSY, Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, that is, Prime Minister's Fisheries Development Schemes. Over to the videos.
Fisheries and aquaculture are an important source of livelihood for 2.8 crore fishers and fish farmers in India. During the last 9 years, the Government of India has brought transformational changes in this sunrise sector to enhance the incomes of fishers and fish farmers and for holistic and sustainable development of the sector. Keeping the welfare of fishers and fish farmers at the core, the Government of India created a separate Department of Fisheries in February 2019, followed by the creation of a new Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying in June 2019. In line with the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi's vision, the government is infusing substantial investments worth rupees 38,572 crore in the sector.
पहली बार देश में इतनी बड़ी व्यापक योजना बनाई गई। आजादी के बाद इस पर जितना निवेश हुआ उनसे भी कई गुना ज्यादा निवेश प्रधानमंत्री मत्स्य संपदा योजना पर किया जा रहा है।
Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana happens to be the highest investment ever approved for fisheries and aquaculture, for enhancing production and productivity with infusion and adoption of technology, supported by creation and strengthening of fisheries infrastructure. Growing sustainably at an average of 8.6% per annum, the fisheries sector contributes around 7% to the agricultural GVA and more than 1% to the national GVA. The national fish production stood at an all-time high. In the past 9 years, India has doubled its inland fisheries and aquaculture production, as well as seafood exports, and seen a threefold increase of brackish water shrimp production, contributing enormously to the incomes of fishers and fish farmers. India's meteoric rise in the fisheries sector is an outcome of the hard work of our fishers and fish farmers,
technological contribution of the scientific community around the supportive government policies. The government has been supporting marine fishermen with new boats and nets, deep sea fishing vessels, communication and safety devices for safety and security at sea, quality brood and seed programs, affordable feed, species diversification, cold chain infrastructure, and modern fishing harbors and fish landing centers, and marketing linkages. Prioritizing the well-being of fishers, fish farmers, and fish workers, the government has brought them under financial and social security net with group accidental insurance coverage and provision of livelihood support during seasonal fish ban or lean period. In order to provide additional livelihood opportunities, cage culture, seaweed cultivation, ornamental fisheries, and mussel cultivation are being promoted. For ensuring safety and security of fishermen at sea, indigenously developed vessel communication and support system by ISRO are being installed free of cost in 1 lakh fishing vessels for the fishermen to stay connected with their families and communicate with authorities in times of distress. To build fish stocks and augment the productivity of marine ecosystem, the government is taking up the initiatives of developing artificial reefs and promoting sea ranching. The government has also taken up river ranching on a large scale. The government of India extended the Kisan credit card facility to fishers and fish farmers since 2018-19 to help them meet their working capital requirements. A fishers outreach program, Sagar Parikrama Yatra, led by Honorable Union Minister, Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, has been initiated to meet fishers and fishing communities at their doorsteps, understand their issues, and address the grievances of fishers, fish farmers, vendors, coastal women, workers, and all stakeholders along the fisheries value chain. India's enterprising youth, especially in the rural and coastal areas, are readily taking up fisheries as an enterprise opportunity under PM-MSY and contributing towards employment generation. A strong fisheries startup ecosystem and incubators are encouraging entrepreneurs via competitive events like the Fisheries Startup Grand Challenge. The 12 most promising startups in the fisheries sector have been selected as the winners of this challenge and are being facilitated by the ministry. Today, India's fisheries sector is proudly treading ahead to become Atmanirbhar, as envisioned by our Honorable Prime Minister, striving towards a progressive fisheries sector, playing a critical role in building our nation. We are further tapping its potential to reach newer heights in a sustainable manner, ushering in economic prosperity.
We now move on to the second video on Sagar Parikrama, the brainchild of Honorable Fisheries Minister, a unique outreach program of the Department of Fisheries, Government of India, where our Honorable Union Fisheries Minister of Fisheries travels the entire coastline stretch of the country to delve deeply into the issues of fishers and communities, to initiate steps to resolve the issues, and to disseminate the information on government schemes and programs straight to fisher folks, stakeholders and communities. 9 phases of Sagar Parikrama have been completed with a visit of 91 locations and journey of 4,000 kilometers in 9 maritime states and union territories. Over to the video.
तट रेखा के रखवारे हम, तूफानों से नहारे हम। तट रेखा के रखवारे हम, तूफानों से नहारे। संतान सिंधु की मछुआरे हम, अपनी मेहनत और हिम्मत से हर मुश्किल को पार किया। सरकार का हमको साथ मिला, हर सपने को साकार किया। अमृत महोत्सव आया है, रंग आजादी का छाया है। नए भारत को अब मिल करके गढ़ने का मौका आया है। साथ साथ मिल के आगे बढ़ने का है यह समा। हम शक्ति दूत है शांति के, हम वाहक नीली क्रांति के। समृद्ध करे मत्स्य संपदा भारत की हर भांति से।
जो अपना पालनहारा है, छवि जिसकी हर मछुआरा है। उस जीवन दाता सागर को शत शत नमन हमारा है।
आओ कहो मिलके समुद्र देव नमो नमः। आत्मनिर्भर हर मछुआरा तट रेखा प्रगतिवान बने। सुरक्षा जीविका और विकास मछुआरों की पहचान बने।
एक नया सवेरा आया है, किया वादा जो निभाया है। मछुआरों की प्रगति के लिए हर संभव कदम उठाया है।
इसी हौसले के चलते लहरों पे है हम रवां।
A big round of applause, please. Well, it's time to set the context of the international workshop. We are honored to have here with us our distinguished guest, international guest, Mr. Takayuki Hagiwara, FAO representative to India. Dr. Piero Manini, Senior Liaison Officer, FAO Rome, and Dr. Darius Campbell, Chair, RFB Secretariats Network. Over to Mr. Takayuki Hagiwara for the special address.
Namaste. Honorable Minister, Mr. Rupara, great to see you here again. Thank you very much for your participation. And Dr. Leakey, Department of Fisheries, Ministry of Fisheries and Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Excellencies, distinguished guests and participants, and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Takayuki Hagiwara. It's long, so please call me Taka, T-A-K-A. It's very easy to remember me as if you see that the currency of Bangladesh. So it's my name. I, on behalf of FAO, cordially welcome you to this important event in Chennai. Here in Chennai, we have the Bay of Bengal program, and there is no other appropriate place in India to hold this event. I became the FAO representative in India around end of May this year. Actually, Dr. Krishnan was my first guest who visited my office after I took the office. And thank you very much for Dr. Krishnan for being my first guest and such a great host of this event, and a good partner of FAO. With success of the G20, India is now recognized as the Global South leader. Due to the rapid growth of economy and India being the largest democracy, everyone in the world is keen to learn how India will develop and deal with the many difficult issues. I believe India can and will soon be a global torchbearer for many difficult issues that we face now. Traditionally, FAO has been leading the international efforts to end hunger and poverty by sustainably using the natural resources while supporting member countries to increase the agriculture productivity, facilitate access to food, improve the nutrition, raise living standards, and promote sustainable development. There are so many areas in which FAO and India can work together, and together we can achieve a lot. However, we are behind on
SDGs, and the world is facing many global crises that undermine food and nutrition security. Big challenges such as climate change, biodiversity loss, degradation of natural resources, and socio-political conflict stands in our ways to achieve the SDG. If India can't achieve the SDGs, and many of the SDG indicators will not be met. So currently, FAO and United Nations as a whole are working hard to collaborate with the government of India to get back on the right course to achieve the SDG. FAO advocates agri-food system transformation. The Green Revolution brought us a significant benefits to the area of production. And since then, we have also made advances in the area of value chain development and other agriculture-related areas. However, we have realized that our effort to improve the efficiency and bringing agricultural products from farm to fork have proven to be insufficient, especially in the face of climate change and
deteriorated natural resources base. We have recognized that the importance of a holistic approach to the issue of food and agriculture. Therefore, we need to shift our focus from simple food production and value chain development to agri-food system, while addressing the issue of inclusiveness and empowerment of women and other disadvantaged groups. The event we are opening today is in line with this vision It is focused on aquatic food and will contribute to what is referred as the blue transformation. Aquatic food have been recognized as having a critical role in addressing hunger. Compared to the other land-based animal protein production, aquatic food systems generally have lower environmental footprints and can
Sri
efficiently
Purushottam Rupalaji
produce
and all the
diverse food.
dignitaries on the dais.
Furthermore, they contain essential micronutrients to address malnutrition. My fishery colleagues here in FAO are world experts, and they will tell you more about this in this event. I would like to stress the
Purushottam
importance
Rupalaji.
of scale and the investment that support scaling up. FAO is fostering global partnerships to create enabling environment and catalyze public and private investment in blue transformation, which calls for a wider participation of the private sector. In closing, let me highlight that without aquatic food, we will not end hunger. And unless we end hunger, the SDG will remain out of the reach. India is the birthplace of Green Revolution and the White Revolution. And today, let's witness the birth of the Blue Revolution here in Chennai, India. And please join us forces to transform agri-food system by making a
I
big
now
push for
cordially
sustainable
invite
and climate resilient blue transformation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hagiwara, for the special address and context setting of the international workshop. We are now pleased to invite Dr. Manini to give his special address.
Good morning. This statement is on behalf of Mr. Manuel Barange, Director of the Fishery and Aquaculture Division at the FAO headquarters in Rome. Your Excellency, Mr. Purushottam Rupala, Union Minister of Fishery and Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Dr. Abdilakish Liki, Secretary, Department of Fishery, Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Mr. Takayuki Akigara, Mr. Taka, for FAO representative in India, Excellencies and colleagues and ladies and gentlemen. Climate change is projected to impact broadly across ecosystems, societies and economies, increasing pressure on all livelihoods and food supplies, including those in fishery and aquaculture sector. Climate change is modifying the distribution of marine and freshwater species. In general, species are being displaced toward the poles and are experiencing change in the size and productivity of their habitat, seasonality of biological process. Sea level rise, glacier melting, ocean acidification, change in precipitation, groundwater, and river flows will significantly affect many ecosystems, including coral reefs, wetlands, rivers, lakes, and estuaries. Climate change will have potentially significant impacts on the four dimensions of food security. Availability of aquatic foods will vary through changes in habitat, stock, and species distribution. Stability of supply will be impacted by change in seasonality, increased variance in ecosystem productivity, and increased supply variability and risk. Access to aquatic food will be affected by change in livelihoods and fishing or farming opportunities. And utilization of aquatic products will also be impacted, and for example, some society and communities will need to adjust to species not traditionally consumed. Not all climate change impact will necessarily be negative. Redistribution of fish stock may mean that one country's loss is another gain. There are major projected change in maximum fisheries catch potential, namely the maximum catch potential of fisheries is projected to decrease by 24% by 2100. This masks differences across regions and countries. For instance, marine ecosystems in the tropical areas are projected to have a decrease of up to 40% in maximum catch potential, and areas in the high latitudes are projected to have a 30–70% increase in catch potential. Regional fisheries management organization and regional fisheries advisory body, which are collectively referred to as regional fishery bodies, are increasingly aware of the challenge posed by climate change. And some have initiated action, ranging from public awareness-raising initiatives, policies, management plans, projects, and other initiatives. However, there is a consensus that most organizations have difficulty in engaging in the topic of climate change, despite the existence of good science. For instance, according to relevant discussion during the 9th Regional Fishery Body Secretariat Network meeting, which was held at the FAO headquarters in September 2022. In this context, the 35th session of the FAO Committee on Fisheries, COFI, which is the decision-making body governing issues related to aquatic food, requested that the FAO develop guidance on climate-resilient fisheries management, and as a part of the solution, convene workshop with regional fisheries body. One of these workshops, the first one, I'm pleased to say, then will be here in this beautiful town of Chennai, and currently hosted by the government of India. The work on regional fishery bodies and climate change is expected to build on and add to the FAO existing portfolio of activities to support countries and communities in adapting aquatic food systems to climate change impact. These include a comprehensive review of impacts of climate change on the aquatic food sector and the development of a FAO adaptation toolbox for fishery and aquaculture. One commonly identified climate change adaptation option is that stronger, more comprehensive management frameworks are needed to help regional fishery bodies address the impact of climate change. Moreover, rapidly changing environmental conditions could limit the usefulness of historical comparison that scientists use to understand and contextualize to assess the stock status and trends, potentially increasing uncertainty inherent to the stock assessment. Therefore, the ability of regional fishery body to adapt is essential to foster adequate response to climate concern. It is evident that the difficulties of managing stocks, fishery stocks, and species which cross biologically arbitrary geopolitical legal jurisdiction line will only increase as species distribution change. Cooperation is a third area that is challenged by climate change and that will require increased effort if we want to assure successful adaptation. Cooperation is a central theme of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, especially with respect to the high sea fisheries management. And I'm referring to the well-known principle of duty to cooperate of state when exploiting shared stocks. In conclusion, climate change is and will remain a fundamental issue facing regional fishery bodies for the foreseeable future. The change underway in the ocean is dramatic, and subsequent impacts to marine species, ecosystem, and human health and well-being are very likely to be substantial. Addressing this risk is a complex, high-stakes, and urgent challenge. The challenge of climate change can thus be viewed not just as a question of ecosystem resilience, but also of the institutional robustness and resilience of multilateral governance regime charged with the conservation and management of international fisheries. In closing, I wish to extend my thanks to those in the Bay of Bengal program, in the Department of Fisheries of the Government of India, and in the FAO, who have worked together to make the organization of this international meeting possible. Special thanks are due to the Republic of India for hosting this event. Thank you very much for your attention.
That was a special address by Dr. Piero Menini, Senior Liaison Officer, FAO Rome. Thank you, sir. Time to listen to the special address by Dr. Campbell, the Chair of RFB Secretariat's Network. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Namaste and Vanakkam. Honorable Union Minister of Fisheries and Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Dr. Leakey, Secretary General of the Department of Fisheries, and Mr. Hajiwara from the FAO representation in India. Your Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. As co-chair of the Regional Fisheries Bodies Secretariats Network, I want to add our thanks to the Department of Fisheries at the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, the Government of India, the Bay of Bengal Programme Intergovernmental Organisation, and the Chennai National Dairies Development Board for hosting us in this beautiful location, and also especially to say to Dr. Krishnan and his team, thank you for all your hard work in preparing this. The Regional Bodies Secretariats Network, which I co-chair alongside Manu Tuparosan from the Pacific Islands Forum Fisheries Agency, is a network of over 50 fisheries bodies. That is a wide variety of regional fisheries management organizations, regional fisheries bodies, and other intergovernmental mechanisms and arrangements that deal with fisheries. Its members are spread right across the world, so including the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, the Indian Ocean, as well as the Antarctic and the Arctic. And those various bodies are aiming to manage fisheries in a sustainable way in the face of many different pressures, which of course include climate change. And of course, we acknowledge, as secretariats of these organizations, that we do not make policy, but it's our member countries that make the policy making and then lay out those policies and implement them. So it is those countries that do everything that needs to be done within these regions. And therefore, it's very encouraging also to see that there is a national brainstorming session on India's preparedness for adapting to climate change in marine fisheries as an important part of this few days of meetings. At the Regional Secretariats Network, we meet together in the margins of the FAO's Fisheries Committee, and that meets every 2 years. But also, more recently, we've been pushing to do more events together between the members of the RSN between these sessions. And this is so that we can share learning and training, we can share our experiences and cooperate with each other over our oceans and fisheries, which of course are very much joined up right across the world. And I have a personal interest in climate change from my own career, so I'm very happy to see this FAO workshop on mainstreaming climate change into international fisheries governance being held here for the Indo-Pacific region. And you may not be aware, but there's another workshop planned for the Atlantic region, my region, later. But this gives this workshop the opportunity to highlight its important trend-setting discussions that you will hold here first for the Indo-Pacific region. I'm also the secretary of the Northeast Atlantic Fisheries Commission that deals with the fisheries right across all the countries of Europe, extending to Russian and Norwegian and Greenlandic waters. And we are also facing the challenge of climate change and the impacts on our fisheries. And we're also facing the challenge of knowing how to respond in fisheries management. So again, we are one with you in your discussions and hope that we can learn from what you develop at the FAO workshop here. And indeed from the national brainstorming on India's preparedness for adapting to climate change in marine fisheries. So I wish us all success in the meetings of the next few days. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell, for context setting of the international workshop. Well, we now move on to take a look at the initiatives from India for climate resilient marine fisheries. Officials at the helm of various ministries in India will present the initiatives of their respective ministries. At the outset, I cordially invite Ms. Neetu Kumari Prasad, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry, Dairying of Fish India.
Honorable
Government
Minister
of India.
Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Mr. Purushottam Rupala, sir. Union Fisheries Secretary, Dr. Abhilaksh Lekhi, sir. Dr. J.K. Janna, Deputy Director General Fisheries ICAR. Dr. Takaku Havibara, FAO representative in India. Dr. Pero Manini, Senior Fisheries Officer, FAO. Dr. Darius Campbell, Chair of the Regional Fisheries Bodies Secretariat Network. Senior officers and scientists from different organizations in India and abroad. All the distinguished guests at the dais. colleagues, and ladies and gentlemen. A very warm good morning to all of you. We are privileged to have a participation in this international conclave, climate change and sustainable fisheries management. I thank BOBP and FA for organizing this important chapter in India and beautiful city of Mahabalipuram. All of you are dealing with fisheries, and I presume you must be knowing and aware of how important role fisheries plays in the area of food, nutrition, employment and income for millions across the world global production. Fisheries and agriculture reached an all-time record of 215 million tons, worth about USD 424 billion. The global capture fisheries production, excluding algae, was 90.3 million tons with an estimated value of USD 141 billion, including 78.8 million tons from marine waters and 11.5 million tons from inland waters. It has shown a fall of 4% compared with the average of previous 3 years, and it shows the impact of climate change on fisheries is already being felt worldwide and is expected to become more severe in the future. Findings from FAO and the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change reports have highlighted this trend. I need not say much about climate change and its effect and how it is badly affecting our resources, because everybody is aware. I will just harp upon the little impact government is making through its schemes and slowly taking steps for bringing environmental change and resilient measures. As per the IPC report, the impact of climate change on fisheries and aquaculture are unevenly distributed, with the poorest and vulnerable communities most affected. Therefore, an adaptation strategy should be developed, especially keeping the most vulnerable communities in mind, which are primarily in developing coastal nations and islands such as India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Maldives. Keeping the pace with changing times, India has taken a slew of measures for sustainable and responsible development of the fishery sector in inclusive and equitable manner. All of you must, just now you have seen the PMMSY videos and Sagar Parikrama, and those are very small evidence of what India is doing for achieving this, achieving and attaining these measures. The major schemes being implemented by Department of Fisheries are the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, that is PMMSY, and the Fisheries and Aquaculture Infrastructure Development Funds. Through PMMSY, Government of India is promoting mariculture in cages, cultivation of seaweed, sea ranching, artificial reefs, bivalve and ornamental fisheries to reduce heavy dependence on capture fisheries and thus keeping the marine and river biodiversity system in balance. Moreover, our government has recent Agriculture Authority Amendment Act 2023 passed by the legislature to address sustainability issues in coastal aquaculture and putting a regulatory framework in place for responsible use of sea resources. Priority has also been given for securing and promoting the interests of traditional and small scale fishers, marginal fish farmers and fish workers, and providing them social, physical and economic security for the conservation and effective management of fishery resources and sea safety. The ministry is imposing a 61 days uniform ban on fishing by all fishing vessels in the Indian EEZ beyond territorial waters on the east coast and west coast in India during fish breeding period. India is also participating as lead partnership country in IMO FAO. The Glow Litter Partnership Project aims to prevent and reduce marine litter within the fisheries sector and identify opportunities for the reduction of plastic uses. Under PMMSY, the efforts are being made to design a fuel-efficient fishing vessel using solar energy, LPG and LNG. The Department of Fisheries is working towards upscaling seaweed farming and thereby capturing a blue carbon ecosystem, which is expected to reduce the pace of climate change and protect coastal communities from its harmful effect. India is partnering with all such countries which actively pursue sustainable forms of fishing to keep our resources safe for future generations. As I conclude, I once again thank all the delegates, officers, media personnel and other stakeholders. I believe this conclave will help all of us with deeper comprehension of how climate change affects fish stocks, and together we will be able to bring and figure out ways towards a sustainable ecosystem. Thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for elaborating on the developmental initiatives of the Fisheries Ministry. May I now respectfully invite Dr. J.K. Jaina, Deputy Director General of Fisheries, ICAR, Ministry of Agriculture, Government of India, to throw light on the research initiatives of the ministry.
Dr. Hagiwara, Dr. Manini, Dr. Campbell, Madam Neetu Prasad, colleague Dr. Murthy, Dr. Krishnan, esteemed delegates, invitees, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great honor and privilege for me to be here this morning. I must thank Honorable Secretary DOF and Dr. Krishnan for the opportunity. Friends, I have been asked to speak about the research initiatives what we have been doing on climate change. Before we go to climate change, we must know, when you talk of marine fisheries, who are the people, which are the regions which are most impacted because of climate change. We know the 9 coastal states and union territories which are there with about 3.7 million people are greatly impacted because of this climate change. When you look at the physical impact, all of us know because of the climate change impact over the years, increasing temperature, which has led to sea surface temperature increase, ocean acidification, sea level rise, and extreme events like cyclone, flooding, and so forth, marine heat waves, and the impact of El Nino. All of us know what has been the impact. Last 40 years of study, what we have seen in both of the coast, east coast and west coast, we have seen that there is an increase in sea surface temperature from about 0.5 degree to about 0.9 degree in different coasts, and the west coast is found to be more impacted than east coast. Looking at the projection again, where we stand at this point of time, and what is likely, this surface temperature likely to increase. Some prediction has been made. Even at the scenario is favorable, still we will find that by 2080, another 60 years, we would, the temperature would likely to increase about 0.7 degree. And then the worst scenario probably up to 2.6 degree. In that scenario, what is going to happen to the biodiversity or fisheries, whatever is there, or how the fishermen population will be impacted and all. So we have seen over the years how cyclonic event has increased over the years. If you see last 30-35 years and last 5-6 years, the mean number of the cyclonic events or the disturbances has been increasing. And the prediction is that by 2050, the frequency of tropical cyclone will increase, the intensity will increase, more number of cyclones with higher intensity. Those are some of the prediction. Some of the study which was there on the west coast, maybe I would say southwest coast in the states of Kerala, Karnataka and all, over these years the distribution pattern has changed, and you can see now at this point of time the distribution of sardine is found almost every place of the country. So there has been extended distribution over these years. I don't say good or bad, but the distribution and abundance pattern has changed over these years. I was talking about the other pelagic fish, for example, mackerel. Conventionally, again, west coast, the distribution was more. For example, in the northwest coast, the distribution, when you look at a few years back, another 40 years back or 50 years back, mackerel was contributing only about 7 and 7.5% of the total mackerel catch of India. Now it contributes about 20%. So there is a wider distribution and abundance pattern. Again, being a mackerel, being again a pelagic fish, we used to catch those in the surface water. The distribution has changed and increasingly caught at the little deeper water up to 50-meter depth. This has not only impacted on the distribution and abundance pattern, the maturity at smaller sizes. You can see some of the examples of Bombay duck, silver pomfret and all. The maturity size has reduced drastically. Once we say that maturity size is smaller, people may say it is early maturing, so it is maybe bad, it may be good. But when you say it is fishes are maturing fast, that means reproductive output is less and recruitment will be less. That will be impacting on the fisheries. Reduction of mean size, fecundity and the spawning season and diet composition and so forth. It is not only impacting only the fin fishes but also shellfishes or like shrimps, the Metapinia dobsoni or Metapinis monoceros. The size at the fast maturity has reduced over these years in last 30-35 years. If you see drastically the size has reduced. The 2.02 million square kilometer whatever EEZ is available, it has been made a grid of about 951 grid has been made of about 55 kilometer by 55 kilometer. So we tried to simulate, for example, two important example has been taken, anchovies and scad. See that what would be the likely distribution of those fishes and how it is going to impact in coming years when we have increase in, for example, temperature or chlorophyll change and so forth. We should be able to predict those. It is only example, so we would be able to predict with other commercial fishes. As I was giving example of fecundity loss, some of the shrimp species like Dobsoli, Paraphinius, stylifera and all, not only size but also fecundity. This number of eggs has reduced drastically over these years, somewhere around 5-6% to as much as a 41% reduction in the fecundity. Coral bleaching is a phenomena almost every one of us know with the increasing temperature how coral bleaching is there. I don't intend to say, but some of the important aspects, for example, harmful algal blooms in Indian Ocean, we have tried to analyze in the East Coast and West Coast. What we have seen last 2 decades, at least the extreme events, extreme harmful algal bloom events have increased at least 3-fold in the West Coast and 2-fold in the East Coast, which will definitely impact the pelagic distribution like sardine or other anchovies, which are depending on the algal biomass whatever is available. So which will likely to impact the fisheries also in the coming days. Several resilient options we have been talking of, mariculture of the climate resilient species. We are working on several fin fishes at this point of time, whether cobia, pompano, grouper, snapper and so forth. So when we say that the climate change is likely to impact in the coastal region, probably we need to give a alternate livelihood option to the fishers. So we consider mariculture should be a good option, whether it is cage culture, mussel farming and so forth. Potential fishery zone, we have been able to identify some potential zone and provide this information to the fishers so that they unnecessarily should not be scouting here and there and spend their money toward the fuel. Alternative wind and solar energy in the fishing vessels, fuel efficient vessels, several new designs have been brought out which are more efficient fishing vessels and more coastal preparedness is so important at this point of time. Climate resilient options. Sea ranching has been, Madam was mentioning, sea ranching is one other important area we are looking at this point of time, which Government of India has also taken extensive programs. Other important aspects, seaweed farming, all of us know, not only seaweed as a monofarming, but also integrated multi-trophic aquaculture along with integrating with cage farming and seaweed. Not only it is helping in increasing the growth potential, but also helping in bioremediation, removing organic and inorganic material so that the pollution is combated. Besides this also the carbon sequestration potential when we integrate again with the cage farming, with seaweed farming has been quite, at least 1.5 times more carbon sequestration has been there. artificial reef, Madam again mentioned, we have tried to evaluate what should be the size, how much quantity we should be putting, which are the place was best suited for, and which will the fish species which will be benefited for the as a nursery ground. All of us know this is one of the important areas. The Government of India also is giving greater focus at this point of time. Some of the fishing technology, as I was mentioning, we have been working on different designs of craft and gear over the years. So, but over the years, we have, depending on the necessity, again, we have been trying to develop newer models, more fuel efficient, deep sea fishing vessel, and so on. So, the vessel design which is shown, Sagar Harita, is one of such example, energy efficient, multi-purpose green fishing vessel developed recently by the CIFT, one of the institute, and several other designs, longliner cum gillnetter, which is being popularized by the different states and the country at this point of time. Stock assessment and management is so important at this point of time. We need to understand with the impact of climate change, changing time, how these fisheries are getting impacted, stocks are getting affected. Some of the study done in the last year, we have been able to assess the stock of about 70 species, about 130 fishery stock. We found that nothing much to worry at this point of time. At least 90% of our stocks are healthy. So that is a satisfying aspect at this point of time, even though many people say that we are overfishing and so forth. We have been able to give again management plan for the different states, legal size for commercial fisheries for different states, for different species we have been able to give. We know that climate change risk assessment is so important. What IPCC has given based on the impact, adaptability and vulnerability, different risk level, and based on those information we have been try to identify the index map. It is not only the coast which is impacted, it is the coastal area, coastal districts are more impacted. So try to have a hazard map for those coastal states, for cyclone as well as the flooding. Some of the, we know the blue carbon wealth that is there in terms of the mangrove, for example. So how much area is under mangrove cover, how much greenhouse gas it can fix, how much sequestration can be there, all those areas we have been working at this point of time. Again, carbon footprint of the marine fisheries, all the time we are pointed finger at us that our vessels probably produce more carbon emission are there, but if you look at the global comparison, at least 16% lower carbon emission is there from the mechanized vessel of India when you compare with the global level. Again, when we compare 2 ton per carbon dioxide emission per ton of fish produced globally, carbon dioxide emission is about 1.6 ton carbon dioxide emission per ton of produced fish in India, which is much lesser when you again combine mechanized and motorized vessels. So several climate resilient fisheries value chain, I have taken more time, so I don't intend to give more. Just I tried to give what we have been doing at this point of time with the extreme climatic event at this point of time, but the research organizations, not only in the ICA system, Ministry, Government of India and several other ministries have been working, and we have a strong cooperation, collaboration which is happening at this point of time. When we are talking of blue economy in the coming days, and climate change, work on climate change is definitely an important area which we need to put our all energy and resources whatever we have. So we look forward for expanding expanding our research programs with the collaboration and cooperation from each one of you. Thank you very much. I sincerely thank the ministry for the support provided and opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Jaina, for throwing light on the fisheries and climate change researches of the ICAR institutions under Ministry of Agriculture in detail. We are glad to invite Dr. M.V. Ramanamurthy, Project Director, Deep Ocean Mission, Ministry of Earth Sciences, Sir will now speak to us on ocean information services and coastal vulnerability reduction. I'm happy to invite Dr. R. Sir. Over to you, sir.
Respected Honorable Minister for Fisheries and Animal Husbandry, Sri Purushottam Rupala ji, Secretary Fisheries, and then distinguished officials from the FAO and my colleagues from the other ministries, Dr. Krishnan, and all the delegates and friends. Very good morning to all. Basically, I am going to highlight what Ministry of Earth Sciences play in the role of fisheries. In fact, Ministry has launched the Deep Ocean Mission in 2021 to support the deep sea exploration and the related aspects. We all know across the globe, climate change is altering the marine systems, especially on the fisher community and also on the security of the food. Climate change is currently impacting on the marine ecosystems, which includes increase in the sea surface temperature. Today, the latest news from NOAA is we are supposed to have 1.5 degrees rise a certain period of time, but now it is in accelerated move. So that means we are going to face more challenges in the future. Another major area is ocean acidification, loss of oxygen. We have already noticed that both Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal, many oxygen minimum zones which are having a serious threat to the fisheries, migration as well as abundance. Fish and marine species are sensitive to these events' impact in distribution, abundance, recruitment and migratory patterns. Extreme rainfall events combined with precipitation and high temperature are likely to cause algal blooms in the many parts of the coastline. In fact, if we see in Chennai, immediately after the first spell of monsoon, we have a huge algal bloom formed along the many parts of the coastal areas. These are all some of the consequences of the long-term changes. When at this stage, I congratulate this organizer for having such an important conclave, which is really relevant for the addressing this climate change impact and also for the resilience. How do we manage these things further? We all know the fisheries potential in India. In fact, Government of India through Ministry of Earth Sciences has come out with a blue economy policy. We were trying to look at what are the numbers which we generate from the fisheries sector as of now and also in the future. Ministry is already providing advisory services. In fact, Dr. Jana has told already on that most of the information is already available from the Ministry of Earth Sciences. We have almost 5 institutes working on the various aspects of the right from the exploration, advisory services and resource assessment. And these institutes provide the valuable information to the fisheries department in assessing the stock and also how it is going to be affected for the future. Coastal areas are vulnerable for the most of the climate change impacts. In fact, fishermen communities are also subjected to this threat. How do we address these things? In fact, there was one of the survey done in Tamil Nadu by most of the fishing villages. Most of the fishing villages are subjected to the severe coastal erosion and these hamlets are completely lost irrespective of the state, whether it can be in east coast or west coast. How do we mitigate and how do we protect the fisher population from these kind of climate change impact if they want to do for livelihood operations for that? In fact, we have developed a web-based GIS information system that is already in operational in Tamil Nadu. It is known as a Tundil, where whenever the fisherman goes to the sea, that particular information is directly come to the desktop which is located in the Department of Fisheries. They can monitor and then see what kind of threat they are facing in the sea and then how do we get back to the system for that. MOS has launched the Deep Ocean Mission. It has 6 verticals. Among the 6 verticals, 3 verticals are dedicated to the fisheries. One is on the mapping of deep sea biodiversity and inventorization. Second one is on the deep sea fishing and assessment. And third one on the ocean climate advisory services. Suppose if it is going to be changed, how the ecosystem will change and deep sea ecosystem will have a direct influence on the fisheries. And last but not the least, we are going to set up an advanced marine biology station through NIOT in Mahabalipuram, which is going to come up in shortly, where many of the research due to climate change, stock adjustment need to be again revisited. Suppose if you want to really look at and then see how it is going to be taken in the future. one of the best solution is nature-based solutions, keeping our healthy ocean, and then this will not only help in the fisheries, but also for the climate for that. Ministry has launched through Government of India, Honorable Prime Minister has set up a center called Sustainable Coastal and Ocean Research Institute, SCORI, and University of South Pacific. This was launched by the Honorable Prime Minister in the 23, basically to have a network of biology station, how do we interact with the Pacific Oceans. With the permission of Honorable Minister, we have a short video where Honorable Prime Minister has launched this SCORI. This particular one initiative is why it is important for the today's one is we are talking about how do we link between India and then Pacific Ocean countries in terms of our collaboration, research, and also how it is being useful for the public. Can I have that video, please?
India and the Pacific Island countries enjoy a vibrant partnership. Development assistance and capacity building are important components of this partnership. The Forum for India-Pacific Islands Cooperation, FIPIC, is an important platform that brings together India and Pacific Island countries. During its second summit held in Jaipur, Honorable Prime Minister of India Shri Narendra Modi announced that India will assist in the establishment of a Sustainable Coastal and Ocean Research Institute, SCORI, in the Pacific Islands.
Excellencies, as I said, you are large ocean states. We look forward to working with you to realize the full potential of our oceans in a sustainable manner.
Designed to be a nodal center of excellence in research and development, SCORI will focus on some of the most pressing regional concerns. This includes understanding impact of climate change on marine ecosystem, marine pollution, coastal vulnerability to sea level rise, sea erosion, cyclone and tsunami. The Institute will provide ocean advisory services for the benefit of the people of the Pacific Island countries. SCORI will also help to build the capacity of the region in these critical areas. It will thus contribute to the 2050 strategy for the Blue Pacific continent and will help in meeting Sustainable Development Goal SDG 14, Life Below Water. NCCR, the National Center for Coastal Research, Chennai, and USP, University of South Pacific in Fiji, the premier tertiary institution in the Pacific, are the lead partner institutions for this path-breaking initiative. Based in the Suva campus of USP, SCORI will be funded and maintained by Government of India for 5 years till it is handed over to USP. Scientists from NCCR have already started working with experts in USP to build the capacity of Pacific Island countries in key areas of sustainable coastal and ocean research.
Today marks the formal launch of the SCORI. This successful launch is a testament to India's strong commitment to partnering with its Pacific friends for the progress, well-being and prosperity of the people of the Pacific region. Coming in the year of India's G20 presidency, this partnership between India and the Pacific shows the way forward in taking care of our world as one earth, one family, one future. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your highly informative update on your ministry. Now, I'm happy to invite Dr. R. Ramesh, former director, the National Center for Sustainable Coastal Management, NCSCM, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. He will speak to us on the policy framework for climate adaptation. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Honorable Union Minister, Honorable Secretary DO, Excellencies, distinguished participants, guests, I will give a short presentation about the ministry's work, particularly on the integrated coastal zone management with respect to climate adaptation. Here we would like to focus on 4 major aspects. One is to conserve the protect and the unique coastal status of the entire coastal areas. For India, we have nearly 7,500 kilometers of coastline, and promote the coastal development. Basically, it's based on scientific principles and how to consider this natural safeguards and climate change, and provide livelihood security for mitigate and adaptation of measures to combat climate change for the coastal areas. And finally, we regulate the coastal development through the coastal regulation, and recently we have the 2019 notification. So we have taken up the integrated coastal zone management for the 10 years back, and I just wanted to highlight those things. And now the ministry is in the consideration of taking up the next level as the National Coastal Mission, particularly with the climate oriented, the risk planning for development, the climate mitigation for balancing the blue carbon sinks, and also to achieve the NDCs, and also the climate adaptation by promoting the blue economy or the coastal economy through wise use of the blue assets. So the National Coastal Mission aims to address climate change impacts on coastal ecosystems, infrastructure and communities in coastal areas through adaptation and mitigation measures. So here the Coastal Regulation 2019, I am not going to go into the details. That the 2011-19, as in all this notification, one thing which has helped us to improve our coastal ecosystem, the health of the coastal ecosystems which we are looking for. For example, I could see the data which recently we have collected, that the mangrove, I can give an example, that we are nearly about 5,000 square kilometers of mangroves. On a global scale, if you look at, there is a huge depletion of mangroves over a period of time. India, we can see all over all the coastal states, we have an increase in the mangrove cover, and also under the MISTI program, we plan to increase another 500 square kilometers of mangrove cover. So like that, we are able to save the seagrass and the coral reef ecosystems and many more. So the next aspect is looking at the coastal regulation. Here we are talking about the up to 12 nautical miles. The ministry takes care of the up to 12 nautical miles, and about the land part is about the 500 meters or so. So we have this zone, which is the most active zone and also highly vulnerable, and now the blue economy. So most of the activities, I have just mapped some of those activities, some new activities also being mapped. So these activities, you can see that unless you do the sustainable development, we will be having a huge problem. So we also looked at the global scale, where the ICCTM has been mapped in over 100 countries. We can see that many of the countries, the Ministry of Environment, the green color shows the Ministry of Environment is taking care of this one, and India is also in pioneering in this one. So I just wanted to give only 5 major points. What is the tool which we are going to use? That is the integrated coastal zone management, and now we have added the marine spatial planning as well, so that the coastal, because many activities on the ocean side is happening. So how do you handle this one? So up to 12 nautical miles, we are mapping the entire marine spatial, and the regulation is already in place. And you want to see the ocean and the coastal ocean resource efficiency, that is the blue economy. So for this, we have these 5 pillars. The main is the adaptation, mitigation, and the risk planning. And this will all lead to combat the climate change through the National Coastal Mission. This is how we have planned, and what we have achieved under each of these objectives, I can say, and the coastal and marine conservation. You can see that this is the first time for the country the entire high tide line has been mapped for the entire country, as well as the sediment cell. And the ecologically sensitive areas, about 11 of them as per the CRS notification, about 34,000 square kilometers, is been digitally mapped. and nearly 16,000 hectares of mangrove has been planted over a period of time, and 2,000 hectares of shelter plant restoration has been done, and nearly 1,200 square meters of coral plantation has been taken place, and also we improved the conservation of heritage sites. And this future also we would like to, the state and UTs would like to continue similar type of work in many of the coastal UTs. In terms of risk and vulnerability, the entire coastal hazard mapping is completed, which is about 56,000 kilometers of hazard line mapped, including the erosion accretion mapping as well. So here we are looking at not the engineering solution, we are looking at the ecosystem based approach, or we call the natural based solution, in look at the erosion accretion issues on the coast, and also look at the integrated climate risk planning, and then capacity building in the state and UTs in ICZM as well as the marine spatial planning. In terms of coastal livelihoods, we have already taken many of the fishery livelihood diversification, and also what are the benefits we are achieved so far, including 50% of women, and indirect beneficiaries, it includes more than 2.4 million, which includes 50% of the women also. So we are scaling up these activities in many of the coastal states and UTs. And then for pollution, in Gujarat we have developed the STP. There are 3 states which is taken under ICC program. One is the Gujarat, the other one is the West Bengal, and the Odisha. And we have all these states, several of these initiatives, which is very successful program. For example, Digha Island, which is completely electrified, and nearly 5 million people are benefited on different activities on this one. And first time in the country, we have introduced the blue flag beaches. Already 8 beaches have the blue flag certification, and many more states and UTs would like to take up, and they have already taken up many of these beaches for the blue flag certification. For the education research, we have already developed for the first time in the country the high tide line, the ecologically sensitive areas, the sediment cells for the shoreline management plans, the ICZMs already for pilot sites, and how do you disseminate, and we have already developed more than 100 people, skilled ICZM people, and also the self-group members of more than 20,000 members, and this continues to help. Right now, for example, the states like Tamil Nadu, the Karnataka, the Orissa, and many of the Gujarat also, they have taken up individual ICZM programs within their states as well as UTs. So with this type of different activities, I could conclude that ICZM is a lighthouse project. We look at 4 important aspects here. One is how do you, when you have the blue assets, the blue economy, how do you conserve them? The health of the ocean is the most important, as the earlier Dr. Ramnamurthy has mentioned, and also the island management, the vulnerability of the island, how do you look at it? And then the institutional strengthening. So each state and UT has a coastal zone management authority, and the skills has to be strengthened further, and then mainstream them with the blue economy, and then technical and capacity building. So we should also have the capacity building at all the different levels, and finally we take up a lot of pilot projects in terms of conservation, in terms of livelihoods, so that in overall the coastal states and UTs have a sustainable coast. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ramesh, for the elaborate talk on policy framework for climate adaptation. Well, now it is time for the release of publications. We are happy to announce that today, on this auspicious occasion, we release 3 publications which cover diverse aspects of fisheries, management and climate change. May I request Honorable Sri Purushottam Rupala ji, Minister of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, to release the artistic publication Waves of Art Series 3. The Waves of Art is a social connect initiative of BOBP to present fisheries issues through art for creating mass awareness. The Waves of Art Series 3 included those drawn during the International Symposium on Innovations in Fishing Technologies for Sustainable and Resilient Fisheries, organized by BOBP in collaboration with NFDB in Kochi. The publication includes contributions from eminent subject matter specialists and artists from South Asian countries and Europe. The second publication, India's Marine Fisheries Sector Under Changing Climate, a synthesis of BOBP studies and reports on adaptation strategies and policy perspectives, provides a synthesis of outputs from different works of BOBP on the marine fisheries sector with implications for climate change adaptation. The third publication is from Central Marine Fisheries Research Institution of ICAR, summarizing results on implications of climate change in recent times. It's time to honor and felicitate our distinguished guests. May I now request Dr. Ellen Murthy, Chief Executive, NFDB, to felicitate our distinguished guests of the day. Sri Purushottam Rupala, Honorable Minister for Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आदरणीय मंत्री जी. Dr. Akhilash Likhi, Secretary, Department of Fisheries, Government of India. Srimati Neetu Prasad, Joint Secretary of Fisheries, Department of Fisheries, Government of India. Dr. J.K. Jaina, DDG, IKR.
ICAR. Applause.
Mr. Takeyuki Hagiwara, FAO representative to India.
Big round of applause.
Dr. Darius Campbell, Chair, RFB Secretariat Network. Dr. Piero Manini, Senior Liaison Officer, FAO Rome. Dr. P. Krishnan, Director, BOBP. May I now request Dr. P. Krishnan, Director, BOBP, to felicitate Dr. L. N. Murthy, Chief Executive, NFDB. I now respectfully invite Dr. Abhilaksh Likhi, Secretary, Department of Fisheries, Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India, to present the keynote address.
Honorable Union Minister of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Shri Purushottam Rupala ji, Dr. Takayuki Hagewara, representative of FAO in India, Dr. Piro Manani, Senior Fisheries Officer, FAO, Dr. Darius Campbell, Chair of the Regional Fisheries Body, Secretariat Network, senior officials, scientists, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I first and foremost welcome you as delegates to the International Conclave on mainstreaming climate change into international fisheries governance and strengthening of fisheries management measures in the Indo-Pacific region. I'm especially thankful to the Honorable Minister for having graciously agreed to spare his valuable time and be present with us through this inaugural session. Thank you very much, sir. I also congratulate FAO and the representative in India to FAO for having put such an august audience, a group of scientists and esteemed members from other countries here in Mahabalipuram and in India. And I'm sure the deliberations over the next few days will lead to some concrete solutions as far as mainstreaming of climate change is concerned. As we are all aware, India has been an ardent supporter of mainstreaming climate change in the global fisheries sector. My colleague Neetu Prasad has already highlighted India's prowess as far as its vast coastline is concerned, its exclusive economic zone is concerned. We started modestly with a subsistent fisheries in the 1950s, but we are now emerging as a leading marine fish producer, and we continue to harness those available resources to the maximum. Especially during the last 9 years, through our various schemes and programs, we have harnessed this potential, and I'd like to make a special mention of 3 major schemes: the Blue Revolution Scheme, the Fisheries and Agriculture Infrastructure Development Fund, and the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. These schemes have in all paved the way for growth of infrastructure, development of technology and innovations, and many more issues related to the entire fisheries sector in India. And as a result, today I'm very happy to share with you that our seafood exports are pegged at $8 billion US, and more importantly, shrimp exports are pegged at $5.4 billion US.
India has always been dedicated to combating climate change while pursuing its development goals. In fact, our marine resources ecosystem offers us tremendous opportunities to take up adaptive measures to tackle the impact of climate change. A lot of those measures have been mentioned by my colleague here, but I'd just like to highlight some of the more issues. Now, there are 2 segments broadly we look at in the Department of Fisheries. One is marine fisheries and the other is inland fisheries. As far as marine fisheries is concerned, and in fact both together, under the Clean India campaign, we are providing financial assistance to states in coastal areas for setting up of bio-toilets in fishing vessels. It's a small initiative, but I think it's a very important initiative to have biodigester toilets that convert human waste into gases and manure, and the aim is to prevent pollution of oceans. India is also a lead partnering country, as my colleague had mentioned, in the IMO FAO Glow Litter project to prevent marine litter and to identify opportunities for reduction of plastics use in fisheries and shipping sectors. In fact, as far as inland fisheries is concerned, sustainable fish production systems with minimum environmental impacts, that is our aim. Therefore, we are promoting recirculatory aquaculture systems, biofloc, and aquaponics, in fact, eco-friendly fishing activities which are diverse. Our focus is also on taking forward fuel-efficient fishing vessels, whether we use solar energy. In fact, the entire agenda of green fisheries to support India's commitment to climate change. This also includes, as was mentioned, a very huge monitoring, communication, and tracking system to help our fishermen in the seas. For conservation of fishery resources and sea safety, we are also imposing a 61-day ban, uniform ban in the exclusive economic zone. In fact, sustainable development of climate-resilient aquaculture, to promote this, our effort is towards species diversification and genetic improvement programs. We are also promoting a lot of deep-sea fishing vessels to reduce the fishing pressure on coastal fisheries resources. In fact, one of the major impacts of climate change is the potential of being about all around. So we have a national program of disease surveillance which involves both active and passive disease monitoring, which has been taken up with big force by the Indian Council of Agricultural Research. And in fact, for efficient landing of fish catch, which is so critical to the entire discussion that is going to happen over the next 2 days, we are modernizing our fish harbors, ports, and landing centers to, in all, expansion, intensification, diversification, technological infusion, and productive utilization of land and water in the fisheries sector for very sustainable and responsible fishing. That is our agenda in Government of India. But I think all these things are secondary if the primary objective of, as the Honorable Minister always insists and pushes us in terms of leadership, if we do not focus on the livelihoods of small-scale fishermen, this entire exercise leads us to nowhere. Therefore, while we provide support in terms of livelihood to our small-scale fishermen through various welfare schemes, through insurance, we are also trying to promote alternative means of livelihood through seaweed farming, through ornamental fisheries, through pearl culture and bivalve cultivation. That is another agenda that the Government of India is pursuing very, very intensively. I would like to make a mention here of the fact that this is a very momentous occasion for our country, that over 8 regional fisheries bodies are present, and they represent about 50 countries that are going to be deliberating over the next few days. And I'm sure, sir, you are graciously present here. I'm sure all these bodies will look at various legal issues that are sort of coming in the way of climate change initiatives being deliberated upon, and I'm sure that will be a very successful agenda. Another clarion call which has been given by our Honorable Prime Minister is Mission Life, Lifestyle for Environment, and the purpose of this mission is to democratize climate change and put an individual at the center of the climate change agenda. There will also be a special session on Mission Life, which my colleague will be participating in, and I'm sure we'll come across a lot of issues of deliberation as far as Mission Life is concerned. Before I end, I would like to take this opportunity to make a special mention of the fact that to take forward all the issues of climate change, all development initiatives, all initiatives in terms of best practices, the Honorable Minister has guided us to hold a global fisheries conference in Gujarat on November 21st on the occasion of the World Fisheries Day. So I would extend a very warm welcome to you to join us in the Global Fisheries Conference in Gujarat and Ahmedabad Science City on November 21st, 22nd. Our officials who are present here today and tomorrow will help you to navigate and get more information, and so will our Joint Secretary, Ms. Neetu Pratash, over the next few days. So I welcome you all again. I thank the Honorable Minister for being graciously present here today, and I hope that through our deliberations during the next 2 days, we are able to create a marine future that is prosperous, sustainable, and inclusive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for enlightening us with your keynote address. We now respectfully invite the chief guest for today's event, Sri Purushottam Rupala ji, Honorable Minister of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India, to address the gathering.
Just a small announcement to the international delegates. All of you have been provided with the headphone, and then an arrangement has been made for translation. The steps are given in print, as well as the links are shared in the WhatsApp link. You may help yourself to get the translation done, that is, hear the translation in English.
Namaskar, good morning, Ram Ram. International Conclave on Mainstream Climate Change into International Fisheries Governance and Strengthening of Fisheries Management Measures in the Indo-Pacific region. On the dais, our Secretary, Dr. Abhilaksh Lekhi ji, our Joint Secretary, Shri Neetu Prasad ji, Dr. J.K. Jaina, DDG ICAR, Dr. Takayuki Hagware, FAO representative in India, Dr. Piero Manani, Senior Fisheries Officer, FAO, Dr. Darius Campbell, Chair of the Regional Fisheries Bodies Secretariat Network, Dr. P. Krishnan, Director BOBP, all senior officers and scientists who come from Bangladesh, Maldives, Sri Lanka, and our neighboring countries. I have some information that the representatives from USA, Japan, Italy, Canada, China, Sri Lanka, Thailand, France, Ireland, Oman, Philippines, and if I miss any names, all the delegates came from abroad. I welcome all you from my bottom of the heart, on behalf of the Government of India, on the land of Mahatma Gandhi and on the land of Narendra Modi ji. I heartily welcome to you all. I give my immense pleasure to be with you today on the occasion of International Conclave. I am told that officials from the 16 regional fisheries bodies from the Indo-Pacific region, representative over 80 countries are present here. Maybe some technical gaps, may 17 countries are here. Many of you had traveled a long distance, coming different time zones during the journey. I hope you all are well received and got a sound sleep yesterday. We all know that the Indo-Pacific region is an inclusive space for stakeholders based on common responsibilities and common interest. Besides, it is also strategic interactions with regards to common opportunities and common challenges shared by the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. Since we have been enjoying the resources of the region together, it is our responsibility to face the challenges, threats, and resolve the problems together, so as to make this region a sustainable habitat for all life forms. Friends, we all are aware that impact of climate change has no boundaries and no specific sector. मैं थोड़ा बताना चाहूँगा, जैसे हमारे एनवायरनमेंट डिपार्टमेंट के अधिकारी ने बताया था, क्लाइमेट चेंज के बारे में प्रधानमंत्री जी की सोच है। ये आप सबने अभी था पिछले G20 के सम्मेलन में थीम रखा था वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, वन फैमिली, वन अर्थ एंड वन फ्यूचर। ये इसी से ही ये सारी चीजें आगे बढ़ सकती है। हमारा सबका एक ही लक्ष्य है, सबको स्वस्थ रहना है, सबको स्वस्थ रखना है। मैं आपके स्मरण में कहना चाहूँगा इस अगस्त गैदरिंग को कि प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी जब गुजरात के मुख्यमंत्री श्री थे, उस समय उन्होंने गुजरात में क्लाइमेट चेंज मंत्रालय बनाया था। भारत में सबसे पहले किसी राज्य ने इसमें इनिशिएटिव लिया हो, इतना वो पहले से ही इस विषय में इनिशिएटिव ले रहे हैं। और जैसे अभी वो देश के नेता के रूप में भारत को नेतृत्व दे रहे हैं, सो इसी के बारे में वो बहुत ही चिंतित हैं और बहुत ही आगे चलकर इस क्लाइमेट चेंज के बारे में काम कर रहे हैं कि कुछ इनिशिएटिव इनके द्वारा जो चल रहे हैं, ये जो स्वच्छ भारत है, ये सबसे बड़ा इनिशिएटिव है इस क्षेत्र का। इसमें साफ सफाई मतलब समुद्री सफाई भी इसका अंग है। सो इट एविडेंट दैट क्लाइमेट चेंज मेनी impact agriculture and fisheries, threat to food security, trigger sea level rise, lead to sea ice melting and glacier retreat. It may also cause natural disasters such as floods, cyclones and droughts. I am thankful to FAO for organizing this important workshop focusing on climate change and its impact on fisheries, and to work together towards developing a set of guidelines or to deal with the impact of climate change in the fisheries sector. I am told that workshop will showcase relevant regional fisheries bodies and their activities, strategies and initiatives in the response to climate change, summarize good practices and lesson learned, identity entry points and opportunities for enhanced integration of climate change into regional fisheries bodies work, and also discuss relevant gaps with reference to knowledge and idea, capacity building and other challenges. As we all know that the impact of climate change on fisheries is already being felt worldwide and it is expected to become more severe in the future. I am confident that the outcome of the workshop will be great help to the fisher communities of the Indo-Pacific region to tackle the adverse and able to minimize the impact, if any. Friends, I am told that a parallel event is also being organized by my ministry, that brainstorming session on the Indian preparedness for adapting to climate change in marine fisheries. The session will mainly focus on the status of Indian fisheries with respect to climate change and adaptation strategies, and India's preparedness for adapting to climate change in marine fisheries. I am confident that our scientists and intellectuals will deliberate upon India's different pros and cons of the important issues and come up with some recommendations which could be helpful not only for India but also for the global fisheries. Friends, Indian fisheries sector contributes a good stake in Indian's economy. It contributes to the national income, exports food and nutritional security, as well as the employment generation. The government of India in the last 9 years has unshered the transformational changes in reform through multi-pronged strategies and focused interventions in the areas of fish production, productivity, technology infusion, strengthening and modernization of infrastructure, boosting domestic consumption and exports, growth of entrepreneurship and employment, etc. One of the key steps in the direction is the creation of separate Department of Fisheries in February 2019, followed by creation of new Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying in June 2019 for focused and holistic development of fisheries sector and socio-economic well-being and welfare of fishers, fish farmers and fish workers. Since 2015, the Government of India has substantially stepped up public investment in fisheries sector to the tune of 38,572 crore rupees to 385.72 billion in the fisheries sectors. India is the second largest aquaculture producer and third largest fish producer in the world. India's fish production increased from 0.75 million tons in 1950-51 to a record 17.4 million tons in 22-23. The success of the inland aquaculture is spectacular. Fish production from inland aquaculture increased from 0.21 million tons in 50-51 to 13.30 million tons in 2022-23. Our export have reached newer heights. Seafood export has more than doubled in last 9 years, with record export of the 63,969 crore, 8.09 billion US dollar. Shrimp exports more than doubled in last 9 years, with export of rupees 43,135 crores, 5.48 billion US dollar. During last 9 years, an estimated 61.9 lakh employment and livelihood opportunities have been generated under the schemes and programs. Approximately 6 lakh fisher families annually are provided with livelihood and nutritional support during fishing ban period. 33 lakh fishers have been insured under group accident insurance scheme in financial year 2022-23. 1 lakh transporter are being installed for monitoring, controlling and surveillance of the marine fishing vessels, boats in the sea. In addition, to ensure that means of income expand, alternate means of the livelihood for fishermen such as ornamental fisheries, bioculture, seaweed cultivation are promoted under the schemes of my ministry. To offer livelihood opportunities in the seaweed sector, we have initiated action for multi-purpose seaweed park, integrated aqua park in the state of Tamil Nadu, worth of rupees 1.27 billion. The inland fisheries sector has seen tremendous growth as small scale and big aquapreneurs entered in the sector, and to ensure more crop per drop, the technologies offered in the sector have become very popular. Since 2015, focus attention have been given. Adaptation to mitigation, our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji has consistently illuminated the path towards proactive and sustainable leadership, particularly in climate action. One of these ideas is the PM's conception of lifestyle for environmental delineated by him during COP26 in November 2021. It is a clarion call for collective global action, signifying the interlinking of behavioral change with mainstreaming climate change into fisheries management. I am happy to reiterate the announcement made by my previous speakers that we are going to organized the first edition of Global Fisheries Conference 2023, GEC 2023 from 21st to 22nd November 2023 in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. On the occasion of World Fisheries Day, we cordially invite you all to attend the event and make its grand success and beneficial for the global fisheries. Coming back to today's event, I am happy to see that deliberations at this conference are focused on the key elements on climate change. It impacts on fisheries preparedness of governments and regional fisheries bodies towards the impact of climate change on fisheries. Our guiding light should be the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam principle, the world as one family. We should closely work to face the future challenges in the fisheries sector. I feel strengthening framework like the Bay of Bengal program, BOBP, and the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission would be significant to address much of these challenges. I will not take much time in closing. An ancient Indian adage resonates deeply: when we heal the earth, we heal ourselves. With these words, I declare the international workshop open. Thank you very much. मुझे एक दो बात और भी इसमें ऐड करनी है। जब इतना दुनिया भर के फिशरीज सेक्टर के साथ जुड़े हुए लोग इकट्ठे हुए हो, भारत में इकट्ठे हुए हो, सो आप सबका कंसर्न जैसे क्लाइमेट चेंज है, इम्पैक्ट ऑफ क्लाइमेट चेंज जो हमारे फिशरीज सेक्टर पे क्या हो रहा है, उसके साथ साथ हमारे फिशर कम्युनिटी के, फिशरमैनों के अपने जो प्रश्न हैं, उनके जो सवाल हैं, उनके बारे में भी कोई कॉमन सेंसस बनना चाहिए। पूरी दुनिया में मछुआरा समाज एक फैमिली जैसा है, ये फिर भारत का हो, बांग्लादेश का हो, श्रीलंका का हो, सारे मछुआरे हैं, सारे एक समुद्र में जाते हैं। उनकी जो समस्याएं हैं, उन सभी के बारे में कोई कॉमन सेंसस बनना चाहिए, कुछ अंडरस्टैंडिंग बनना चाहिए। मैं अपेक्षा करूंगा कि इस प्लेटफॉर्म के माध्यम से, नहीं सिर्फ सत्ता के माध्यम से, इस सामाजिक तौर पर इंटरनेशनली कुछ ऐसे रास्ते निकलने चाहिए जिसके जरिए हम फिशरमैनों के इश्यूओं को समाधान करने के लिए आगे बढ़ सके। आप सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आप सबका यहाँ रहना, ठहरना आपका सुखद रहे और इस कार्यक्रम को सफलता मिले। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
We are extremely thankful to you, sir, for your far-sighted visions, strategies, initiatives for the development of Indian fisheries. भारतीय मत्स्य पालन क्षेत्र के विकास के लिए आपकी दूरदर्शिता, रणनीतियों और पहलों के लिए हम बहुत बहुत आभारी हैं। Dr. P. Krishnan, Director, Bay of Bengal Program, Intergovernmental Organization, will now present the vote of thanks.
Very good morning to the distinguished delegates on and off the dais. With this, we come to the kind of end of the inaugural session. Generally, for an FAO type of function, the inaugural session is a little long, but when the proposal was discussed, both the minister as well as the secretary were very, very particular, like when such an eminent delegates from different parts of the world are assembling here, this is a huge opportunity to just present and then facilitate an interaction on the various types of activities that are being done by not only by the Department of Fisheries, but also by the various departments, various ministries in Government of India. So this was kind of a platform to design this. So, and it was readily welcomed and then accepted by both FAO and then RFB, the network. So, at this, I'm here to present a formal vote of thanks. I know like this is only the conclusion of the inaugural session. We have at least next 2 days to deliberate, discuss, and then take the entire discussion forward. So first, I like to take this opportunity to thank our chief guest, Honorable Minister Shri Purushottam Rupalaji, for having taken time and readily agreeing to be here amidst us. And he has been traversing the entire country length and breadth like no other official in the country has done ever since our independence. And he has been interacting with the fishermen and then community all along, and then even recently, last few days back, he was here. But still, when this program was suggested, he said readily he wishes to be here amidst us. Thank you so much, sir. And particularly in the last leg, when he was giving a speech, he was sharing the concern for consideration to the international community, like the delegates here. Though our main theme is climate, he was sharing the concern like the fishermen who are living across different parts of the shores. They have similar concerns. It is not country specific. They harness the natural resources. So this is one major theme that we should be considering. And I assure you, sir, to the Honorable Minister, in the coming 2 days in our deliberation, we'll keep this as our center of our discussion. And FAO being a global organization connecting all the countries, and which is mandated to develop a guideline for climate resilient fisheries management, certainly will be taking this as a major initiative to take this forward. Thank you so much, for your time and then coming here, Mr. S. Next, I would like to thank our respected secretary, and I'll say he is a core architect of this entire workshop for even India hosting this event. And the whole idea, the very seeds of this idea to host this program here, it started when it happened when Secretary was there in New York in the sidelines of United Nations Fistock Agreement conference, and with the senior delegation from FAO, Dr. Piero, all were there. And when the suggestion was there, such as a program that we are planning, and then whether India will be considering, and then Secretary readily said India is very much for it, and then he kind of indicated a formal process can be initiated. Of course, it took at least just 2 or 3 months for us to connect all the dots. And today we have the entire gathering here, and thank you so much, for your initiative, guidance, suggestion, and then encouragement. And certainly we'll take forward whatever the thought or the entire idea that you had further. Very, very special thanks to our respected and the entire team DOF for having visualized this entire event to a scale what we are seeing it here. Thanks to each member of the Department of Fisheries and all its constituent bodies who are present here. Thanks all. We thank FAO for considering India to be a host country for this very, very important workshop. The output of this will be feeding into the Committee of Fisheries in the next forthcoming Committee of Fisheries. It's a global highest fisheries body that will be assembling in FAO. So this is the significance, and then thank you so much for having considered that opportunity. And special thanks to the entire team, particularly led by Dr. Takayuki, the FAO representative of India, and the key architect of this entire FAO workshop, Dr. Manini, and his whole team who are here, and Dr. Darius Campbell, the chair of the Regional Fishery Body Secretariat Network, and the whole lot of all the regional fishery body heads who are assembled here. Thank you so much for taking the pain of traveling, and then that too with such a short notice that you could mobilize time and then be here. And very, very special thanks to the guests who have come from Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and then Maldives. This is again a kind of a gesture what Government of India suggested, when such a delegation is coming from different parts to India, it is incumbent upon a country of the stature of India to provide an opportunity for the neighboring countries to be here, be part of this entire process. So thanks for having come here. That too will be taking forward these deliberations in the coming days as well. Apart from the international guest over here, we have very, very eminent distinguished delegates here, experts here. Certainly it is worth naming everyone here, but it's just to cut short the time. I recognize the presence of many serving and retired vice chancellors of universities, directors of national institutions, and then eminent scientists. representatives from the state and national governments, and students and faculty from the private and public universities, including the International University, Nalanda University, which is under the Ministry of External Affairs. We have a representative over here, industry, community organizations, and all. Like, thanks to all of you for having here, and I recognize the presence of Professor Ranganathan, Honorary Consulate General of Myanmar. So, thanks to each one of you who have been here. It is all because of the joint effort of the entire team over here. I thank my core team in BOBP, and we thank our collaborators, who include the research institutions from Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Fisheries, Ministry of Earth Sciences, and then Ministry of Environment and Forest. And very, very special thanks to Dr. J.K. Jena, who has been a mentor and then who has been a guiding source always, for being here and then bringing this entire battalion of directors as well as the scientists to be present in this important deliberation. And today's inauguration and the whole set of arrangements that we have made for the next 2 days are a collective effort of our large team. I thank my team members at BOBP, colleagues and friends at FAO, ICR, DOF, NFDB, NCSM, MOS institutions, and very many universities who are all present here. So, thanks to all, and thanks to the press and media who are set to take this entire message to the world. With this, I thank one and all and then conclude. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Krishnan, Director, BOBP IGO, the heart and soul in organizing the international event. So, on a fine note of optimism, we come to the end of the inaugural session of the International Conclave on Mainstreaming Climate Change into International Fisheries Governance and Strengthening of Fisheries Management Measures. Now, kindly raise for National Anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Let's now assemble outside for a group photograph.
Thank you, and we'll have a group photo here itself. We can just come to the fore. I request volunteers to kindly move the chairs in the fore. And I request, once the guests on the dais settle, I request all the participants to kindly come behind. There are 3 levels here. We can just have a group photo here, please. And today's master of ceremony was, she's a professor in QSAT University, Professor Mini Shekhar.